In a world where production numbers reign supreme, one man on a mission. Verbal garbage.
What's up, everybody? Another episode of Verbal Garbage coming at you hot and live. The new norm for me, I think, as much as I hate to say it, is going to be recording these on Sunday mornings, and that way I can send them over to my guy Vince, have him do a little tweaking, work his little magic fairy dust, all my little ums and the noise in the background, get them worked on. And main challenge there is that he's a Brazilian gentleman. Well, he's not Brazilian, but he's living in Brazil. And so we're trying to always work out the time differences. So I'm always trying to make sure my episodes can be released at Monday at some point as opposed to Tuesday. And I'm finding the best way to avoid that until I can learn how to do some of that work myself is doing them earlier on Sunday morning, get them out there. A couple downsides of that, I don't get to live my crazy, exciting, adventurous life on Sundays and see what stories we have in store for that. But I'd rather be able to try to get a consistent time frame out there and start establishing that. So that's going to be it. Having said that, not going to be able to peep the Eagles game before this. We won't be able to recap preseason football. Not the end of the world, but something that's can we call it in development, if you will, for I know not everybody's super into sports and football and whatever the case may be, but I still am buzzing off that crazy UFC card from last night, and just talking to my buddy Jason. And I think once football starts on Sundays, him and I are going to go out after Eagles games, go on for 20, 30 minutes and just do a little recap and then release that as either probably in addition to Monday's episode. So I'll just start doing two releases and just kind of have one that's football centric and mainly Eagle specific, but we'll jump around the league a little bit. I'm sure do a little bit of fantasy talk, do a little bit of previews for next week. So, Jason, I know you're not listening, but don't flake out on me. Super excited for that. I think that would be a lot of fun. He's got a lot of passion in his heart. He's got a lot of fuel. He's got a lot of juice. He runs hot. I also talked to him about possibly figuring out a way where we can Zoom like this, but then his screen will just be him playing Call of Duty, and then I can kind of commentate and narrate a game. I think that would be a lot of fun. He's one of the most talented men I've seen out on the battlefield, and with my gift of gab, watching him play, I think we could do some special things on the field together. Like I said, the UFC card from this past weekend, UFC 278, Usman versus Leon Edwards 2. You had Jose Aldo and Merab Dvalishvili. You had Luke Rockhold and Paulo Costa. Those three fights mainly were the big storyline, and I guess we'll start bottom up. Merab and Jose Aldo. Jose was a number 3 ranked fighter. Merab's number 6. Merab's best friend and cornerman happens to be the champion of that same weight class. There's a little bit of conflict of interest there, but I don't think they're ever going to end up fighting. Merab did what he does. He used his cardio, his pressure, his pace, kept putting Aldo up against the fence. Would go in for a single leg entry for a takedown and then kind of ride him up to the fence and stall him out there, grind him out, make him tired, and ended up getting the decision victory. And he's going up to the top now. Nothing but humongous fights from him from here on out. We kind of talked about the bantamweight picture last week, so I don't need to get too much more into that. But now there's another addition. Merab's going to be in that fold, so we got to keep our eyes out and see what's going to happen with that. The Luke Rockhold Paulo Costa fight. Okay, this week leading up to it, Rockhold hasn't fought in a while. Costa has only fought once in the last 4 years, like one time in each of the last 4 years, so 4 fights in 4 years. It's not nearly active enough in MMA, especially the UFC, the highest level. You really, in my opinion, need to be staying fresh and getting as many live reps in as you can, especially with the trend now of a lot of guys not sparring as much to avoid more damage. So it kind of behooves you to get in the octagon more frequently just to be able to deal with the timing and the cardio. I mean, you can train for fights, obviously. I wouldn't know, but being in there and actually having to deal with that, like exactly what Marab was doing, it's a whole nother animal. So two guys who are absolute dime pieces, who both don't fight a lot, who both are kind of active and funny online. And Rockhold this week has just been slandering the UFC, slandering the pay scale, slandering Dana White, which rightfully so. I mean, he's correct in all his qualms and his bickerings, but it's just funny. You knew that the deck was going to be stacked against him as far as the promotional arm not really reaching out towards him and definitely not making it at the top of the priority list to get him a win. When you got someone slamming the promotion like that, it doesn't really help out too much with him. Dana trying to promote him as a champion or a number one contender trying to get a title fight. So it's just going to be, I don't know, it's just going to be interesting. What's up, guys? You've heard me talk about out-of-body experiences, a little mushroom trip, a little bong pack here and there. Well, luckily for you, you can now experience these legally. Astral Projection and Lucid Dreaming by Vince Field is a book out where you can read and delve more into the world of out-of-body experiences and lucid dreaming. Vince has got 20 years experience of doing these crazy, wild things that I have to take mushrooms or smoke 4,000 bong packs of to experience. Meanwhile, my boy uses his mind and his thoughts to take him to dimensions and planets never seen before in person by humans. Check it out on Amazon if you're interested. It's definitely something I'd enjoyed. Astral Projection and Lucid Dreaming by Vince Field. Check it out now. The Rockhold and Costa fight. Costa was a big favorite. Rockhold's definitely getting older. He's certainly showing a lot of signs of CTE. I mean, during all these ramblings I've been talking about, where he's been throwing the UFC and Dana and the pace going to the bus, he's just, unfortunately, he just doesn't sound right. Slurring his words, he's stuttering, he's stammering, and I've never been a Rockhold fan. I think he's way too cocky and full of himself, but you don't wish that on anyone. And it's just kind of a shame to see. And last night, I mean, that fight, Saturday night, excuse me, that fight was just fucking crazy. It was back and forth multiple times where Rockhold would be mounted or be on the bottom and he'd explode and get out of it and reverse the position, or he'd be up on the feet wobble with his back against the cage and he'd come out and throw a crazy left cross. And it was just an amazing back and forth fight. Costa ended up winning, drinking that secret juice, and Rockhold went into retirement, and kind of what we thought was going to happen. But nevertheless, leading to the main event, my goodness, Kamaru Usman. I think he had 16 wins in the UFC, never lost in the UFC, both on multiple fight win streaks. Him and Edwards. Edwards, I mean, to my surprise, and I think everyone out there, in the first round was kind of evenly matched, and then Edwards kind of got into a body lock position and then ended up landing an outside trip and mounted Usman and stayed on top for the duration and the end of the round. So he ended up winning the first round. Usman kind of smiled at the end of that round. I kind of told my dad, I was like, watch, he's just going to come out fired up and motivated now and just dominate. And he proceeded to come out rounds 2 through 5 and really put on, I'm not going to say a show. It was kind of old school Usman. We're just relying on the grappling and not using his hands much. But I think he knew he was in trouble and he really had a hard time with Rocky, Leon Edwards. So he was just doing what he knows best, his grappling, trying to stay on top, stay heavy, keep the pressure, wear down Edwards. And it was effective. He was definitely winning the fight. I mean, no doubt about it. It was going into the 5th round. He was winning the fight. The whole 5th round, he was winning the fight. And out of nowhere, fucking head kick knockout. Edwards kind of did this move where he was showing his left hand to kind of be able to get Usman, for the viewers at home watching, throws left hand. Usman was going to be able to slip it. And as he was slipping it, Leon already had the head kick chambered up. So he literally threw the punch, feint, got Usman to turn his head into it, and the head kick kind of just met the slip. I've been watching MMA for probably about 10 to 12 years now. And when you think of like the most shocking moments of all time, for me, Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey comes up right away. And I mean, this is Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor was up there. This, I don't even really know how to explain it. I'm still trying to search for words for that fight. And just the fact that Leon won the first fight. I mean, excuse me, the first round, albeit by landing a takedown and controlling, which no one ever would have thought. Loses the second to the fifth round. The craziest part is like, if you guys were watching the fight, you saw his body language. You saw he looked dejected. He looked like he didn't have any interest being in there. He looked like he was tired. He was broken. DC said Daniel Cormier, DC said something really interesting during the commentary that I took to heart, or not to heart, but I just took a lot of stock with me, and it hit home, where he was saying in between rounds when you're watching the cornermen, you can tell when the fighters are broken because the fighters won't look their coaches in the eyes because there's like this sense of shame. And like I said, I would never be able to relate to this MMA being locked in a cage with someone beating the fuck out of each other, and it's just crazy. But DC mentioned that how the fighter had so much shame, or fighters have a lot of shame when this is going on. They can't look their coaches in the eyes, and I just thought that was crazy. And my dad and I were saying how Edwards looked broken. He was exhausted. He was gassed. He was done. The commentators were saying it. I mean, it was well known. And I think with 56 seconds left in the fight or something like that, he lands that head kick, and I'm still don't really have words for it. Next in a few weeks, there's a Chimaev and Nate Diaz fight, and I was just telling my dad how Nate, excuse me, Usman's pretty much cleared out the division at this point, and Chimaev is really the only piece of fresh blood. So that kind of led up to that fight, and Leon Edwards had other thoughts, and so now we're gonna really get a shake up in the welterweight division. Whether they do a trilogy fight right away, or they give Leon another fight, but there's a lot of fun matchups out there for Leon. London got a champion, which is huge for them in that market. They'll probably go back to London with him and Patty and Molly, the meatball, and meatball Molly, whatever. So yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. Incredible card. A few things over this last week. I mean, real quick, we can get to it. And since this isn't like on comedic relief yet, and hopefully I'll be able to get there. But I shouldn't even bring this up because it's like making me feel sick right away. But yes, I was at Publix yesterday, and I was just shopping about, in the produce section. Oh my God. Should just try to get this quick. Yeah, I'm gonna get to it quick. I just pretty much want to give a huge shout out to anyone who's a first responder who works in those kind of fields, because unfortunately I had a pretty close run in yesterday where an older gentleman had taken an unfortunate fall in a Publix. He fell back and hit his head and was really gushing blood from the back of his head. And a lot of people were just standing around and making noises. I ran over. I tried my best to talk to him and comfort him. And once I started seeing the blood pour out, I'm not gonna lie, like I've I've really freaked out. I got really lightheaded, really dizzy. It's just something I don't do well with. And thought of my brother, who's always out there fielding these kind of calls to a way more extreme degree, and just other people. And I was able to get on the phone with 911. Immediately called them, told them what happened, told them where it was. They were able to respond in a pretty quick fashion, able to take the gentleman away. And I a guy who worked at Publix was able to get some gloves on, get a trash pad, or get some paper towels and stuff, put them on the back of his head with some pressure to stop, try to mitigate the bleeding. And an RN happened to be there, thank God, and she came over and took over. So I was just kind of standing off the side, talking to his wife, making she was making sure she was okay. And yeah, it's just I couldn't help but talk about that because it happened, and just really made me nervous and scared. And I just hope if anybody were to be in that situation, you could have other people that would respond in a timely fashion, and hopefully medical professionals would be able to help in a timely fashion, and not someone like me who's untrained. I was just kind of just being there to help, moral support, and to kind of get on the phone with 911 right away. But yeah, it was tough to see that, and hopefully everything's all right with him. It's just really unsettling to see. But anyways, over this last week, I just got into the Hard Knocks, Detroit Lions. For those of you who don't know, Hard Knocks on HBO. Speaking of HBO, they just did that fucking merger. I don't know if you guys saw that with Discovery or Discovery Plus, and they're taking off all these titles and making all the news everywhere for all these titles being purged off HBO and how you're getting ripped off for your HBO subscription because they're taking everything away. And I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I'm a big HBO consumer, and I didn't really see anything of note that's really leaving. I mean, I'm gonna pull it up right now and see what's leaving. Kind of read it out because I don't like I said, you got Sopranos, you got The Wire, you got Oz, you got Game of Thrones, you got Succession, you got Eastbound and Down, you got Barry. I mean, you got so Curb Your Enthusiasm, so many incredible original series, Hard Knocks, Westworld. Uh, um, but it's just crazy because all this news this week has been all about like, oh my god, all these shows are leaving HBO and the price gouge, blah blah blah, and I'm just like, what? So here's just a few of the programs and shows and movies or whatever. 12 Dates of Christmas, About Last Night, Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Close Enough, Dodo, Ellen's Next Great Designer, Elliot from Earth, Esme and Roy. Like, who the fuck? No offense if you watch any of this, but I'm going down. I still don't see anything of note. Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, boo fucking who? Uncle Grandpa, nope, see ya. Like, what? The movies, guys. All right. Now I hope you can bear with this. The Runaway Bunny is leaving. I'm so sorry. Yep. That's right. You heard. All right. Let's look up the plot for Runaway Bunny and see what we're missing out on and see if this is worth me going on and streaming and maybe eating my words. Watch this be like one of the greatest movies of all time. But my point is like you just see these things sometimes for sensationalism. You're like, oh my God, this movie, blah blah blah. These are all leaving. And you get this panic, and it's like the Runaway Bunny brings the illustrations of Clement Hurt. So it's pretty much like a book that was written a while ago. I think a kid's book turned into a short film. All right, cool, great. Sorry, I didn't mean any disrespect, but not exactly a huge loss. When you got shows like The Pacific and Band of Brothers and all these other incredible shows, I'm supposed to be worrying about Runaway Bunny. Nah, we're good. We good, Chief. So, anyways, I started watching Hard Knocks and it's just pretty fucking cool. Always good, but this season they're showing a team that's kind of young and on the up and up. And another reason, once you hit 30, you feel super old. By the way, I just caught myself saying, I feel like that was one of the first few of the episode. Let's fucking go. But now I just feel older all the time, all these little things. And then you're watching the show Hard Knocks and Dan Campbell's the head coach, and I watched him play him when I was younger. But then you start seeing the coaching staff he put together, which obviously I don't give a shit about the feeling old part, but it's pretty cool to see. I mean, he's got on his staff Deuce Staley, who's a former fucking Eagles legend, and on our staff. Can't believe we let him go. If you watch him in that show, he'll get you so hype. He connects with these players. I mean, he's the guy we want. But anyways, he's got Deuce Staley. He's got Mark Brunell. He's got Hank Fraley, another fucking former Eagle. Mark Brunell was a former Jaguars quarterback. Aaron Glenn, who was a cornerback for the Jets and I believe the Patriots at the end of his career. Kelvin Shepard, who was a linebacker. Like it was just pretty much cool just for me to see like all these guys he's got on his staff are all guys that I grew up watching and playing. And now I'm getting older and I'm watching, the 21-year-olds coming to the league, and then you got the 40-year-old coaches and stuff. So cool to see, full circle. When I was growing up, when I was watching football and learning about it, my dad would always see coaches be like, well, this guy played for this team. And I didn't really know them because I was younger and just getting into it. But now as I'm getting older, it's cool to be able to see the coaches and the players and all of them really well, where the coaches came from. Hard Knocks, I love how they always do like the rookie song where, they'll get a rookie in front of the whole entire room. They'll go in like a big theater for tape study and all that kind of stuff. And they'll get rookies to go up. And Aiden Hutchinson, the number 2 overall pick from Michigan. So he went to Michigan and then got drafted by Detroit. Pretty fucking awesome staying at home. Comes from quite a lineage. He's got a dad who played at Michigan, I believe, maybe in the NFL. And he's just got a fucking dime piece of a mom and two sisters. So the family genetics are running hot. His sisters are, getting lucky. Their brother lands on the NFL team. Their sisters are right close to that NFL team. So I'm sure one of them's gonna super breed and get with one of these NFL players and just continue the cycle of producing superhumans. So shout out to the Hutchinsons. I enjoy the entertainment aspect of the super freaks and the superhumans. So you produce, I watch, I pay. Come on. I mean, pay to watch and play football and shit, not pay to watch and produce the kid. Um, yeah, so a couple cool moments like the rookies, Aiden, the number 2 draft pick, was doing Billie Jean in front of the whole class. And I just remember like whenever they get up in front, they always say their name, where they were drafted, and their signing bonus. And when he said a signing bonus, one of the guys' reactions was fucking hilarious. Um, so yeah, he had the singing thing that was funny. Jamal Williams, who used to be on the Packers, running back, he had this pretty dope little speech, got everyone crying and fired up, and I shed a little tear. I'm a sensitive little bitch, I'll watch a little cartoon movie or a little Disney movie or any kind of little thing, documentary, and I get emotional very, very, very easily. No shame in that. Um, just kind of going over some more things from the week. Uh, One of my customers from work transferred to a place called what is that? Oh, it's just a glare. One of my customers, who's a Jersey boy, so I'm sad to see him go. But he transferred to the bus barn, working on buses now, and it kind of just brought me back and made me think of some memories of some buses. Um, yeah, I'm not going to mention any names here because this would do some real harm, but just over the years, I mean, there's just so many memories of riding on the bus and taking the bus. I remember, I think my last 2 years of high school, we were blessed enough to not have to ride the bus. My friend had gotten his license, right? And man, these were the days. Couple ways we can get into this. Like he was driving us to school, and I remember every morning before school, this is like the first year I started smoking weed was like my junior year of high school. And in my bedroom, like I had me and my brother shared a room for a long, long time. Um, but at an early age, he knew he was gonna get into law enforcement and he could see me starting to smoke the poot. So he had requested a room change. This may or may not be true, but it sounds good. He requested a room change, so he migrated off to what was known as the guest room, and then I had taken over the king suite. I had my own bathroom. I had the fucking attic in my room, just everything you could want. A walk-in closet, and my attic. It was literally like you would open my door to my closet. I'd have big shelves on both sides, or big like things where you'd put the clothes hangers on each sides, and then right above it in the middle, you'd have this big string, and you'd pull the string down and have these collapsible stairs that would fold down. And you could go up into the attic, and the stories that I could tell you from this attic, but I'm going to try to stay focused right now. I think the rest of this episode might be attic talk, honestly, even though this was originating for bus rides, but this is just how the brain works. Um, yeah, so every morning, like I would wake up and I would open the attic and run up there and start smoking my bong because I just thought like as opposed to smoking in the bathroom or smoking it outside or whatever, like this would be my safest route, my route. Um, to give you an idea, like the way the smoking, because the smoking weed stories, I mean, come on, they're just endless, they're timeless, they're classic. Um, the one time, like after I started smoking in the attic, it just became such a hassle because like I would have to have my fucking innocent little brother being my little lookout where me and a couple of my buddies would like go up there and smoke, and then I'd be like, "Yo, just play Xbox and be our lookout." And if like we would lock my bedroom door, and if either my parents would come up, he would just like stall and sit there and try to just the shit that would go through our brains, my brain. So I the one time specifically I can remember was me and two of my buddies up in the attic, and I made poor little boy play Call of. This was, and this too was the funny part is this is his only chance he ever really got to play Call of Duty. It would be my room, and not really my Xbox, it was our Xbox, but I would always be playing it. And when I would go smoke, I would be like, all right, you can play and just be my lookout. So he would the one time my dad was just not taking no for an answer. He was looking for me. He wouldn't back down. Kurt was trying to distract him and just put him off. Uh he broke through the first barrier, then the closet was the second barrier, the attic was the third barrier, and I don't remember exactly what, but I think young boy Kurt did a really good job of holding him off because he was able to break through the first barrier, but not the second and third, and I remained unscathed. Um, but anyways, like these days would be we would go, not we me I would go smoke in the attic, usually make us late, so we'd have to fucking like run. And I remember like these are the first days I would ever be getting high, so like just like leaving the house and feeling the way, because I don't know if you guys can relate, but those teenage highs were just something that you can never recreate. I mean, you like each bong hit almost felt like a fucking tab of acid. Like how I would react, I would just go so crazy. And we would be walking to my friend's house, and the funny thing was he had just gotten his license, so he would only be allowed to drive one non-family member, or non like what was it, someone who was 18 or older or 21 or older could drive with him, but then he can only drive with one non, so he could take me. But like I didn't want my brother, and my brother didn't want to take the bus, right? So we had this thing in our neighborhood. Right when you would come into the neighborhood, it was called the Pit, and it was like just this big grassy area that was just like a bunch of hills that would just lead down. We called it a pit, and there was a big sewer down there. And when we were kids, we would all go down in the sewer in the summertime hunting for some frogs, and there would always be these wives' tales about these giant rats that would be down there. And your boy was deathly afraid of all those kind of amphibians, reptiles, rats, bugs, squirrels, elephants, zebras, giraffes, and anything, birds, dragonflies. I mean, you name it, I'm scared of it. But we would go down there in the summer. It was just a secluded area. We would knew it would just be, me, my brother, a couple of our neighbors having fun, going looking for little froggies and whatnot. Um, so pretty much in the morning, like, and this wasn't like far from our house, but it was still a good, probably a 10-minute walk. So every morning, like, I would walk to my friend's house, which is probably a 3 to 4 minute walk. And I would tell my brother, I'm like, you got to go around the outside and go hide at the pit. So he would literally go like hide there and wait for us to pick him up because, like I said, he was only allowed to drive one of us, not both of us. And there started getting to the point, I think, where, his parents would leave before him, and they would be leaving the neighborhood, and they would see my brother like waiting at just by himself at a random like stop sign. And they started putting two and two together. So we had to get a little more clever in our plans on how to hide, so we ended up telling him to literally, instead of standing on the curb, like fucking bitch, go down into the pit and go into the sewer and hide. So that's what the boy did. The sewer rats of Wexford Lees. But yeah, the bus rides. One thing that sucked is like I went to Rosa and then West, which I lived on the east side of town, and Cherry Hill East and Beck, the middle school and the high school. We're like 5 minutes away from my house, but I went all the way to the other side. So the bus rides home from middle school and high school, I would literally be the last stop on each of the routes, and it would just like take, an hour and 10 minutes or something like that to be able to get home. And it just sucks. So we would really do whatever we could to get on that convoy to school without having to take the bus, right? And the bus rides there, the bus rides home, they just they produce a lot of amazing memories. I remember I didn't and this is the bus rides and the car rides. I'm kind of going to talk bus right now, but I never, it's funny because Kurt and I grew up, we were trained with firearms. My dad was always a big firearm collector and just getting big into the gun safety and everything like that. And he bought us shotguns when we were, younger, 14, something like that. But we know it wasn't a joke, it was a real thing. And firearm safety has always been of the utmost importance. But we were never allowed to get paintball guns. And we had so many friends that had paintball guns. We thought they were so cool. So I remember one year, one of my buddies gave me just like a bag of paintballs, and being the fucking shitheads that we would be riding home on our bus ride, and we would take these paintballs and just like throw them at stop signs, throw them at whatever we could. And, there were a couple really dicey scenarios with that. And my mom was a legend in town for making some of the best sandwiches, and Some days we'd go to the black market with her sandwich. She'd work really hard in the kitchen, crafting this thing, making it in the morning, and I would take it underground to the black market with some of my friends and offer up some trades, whether it would be, a soft pretzel, a chicken wrap, and a slushy, or I always made sure the leverage was on my side. High school years, I would always dress in the polos, so I'd come off as a little preppy kid, but I was still the same old little dirt bag trying to fleece anyone I could. And no, I'm just kidding. But if I was giving away a homemade, buffalo chicken or a ham and cheese or whatever the sandwich is, and keep in mind this is Jersey, so you were on that Del Bono bread, boy, that fresh roll. Mm-mm-mm. So if I was giving that away, I was making sure I got everything back plus more in return. And but anyways, some days my neurotic little brother wouldn't eat his sandwiches, and I've already tried to tell some stories about him, and this one's pretty funny. He would just fucking we would be going northbound, and the incoming traffic would be coming southbound on us, and there were times where he would just take a sandwich and just throw it at a pedestrian, or throw it at a bus, or throw it at a car. And looking back, it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like if we were living in Florida, that would have bounced off a windshield, and a homeless person would have saw it right away and pounced on it. Now it's like in New Jersey, that just probably sat there and got wasted with all that high quality deli meat. So fucking wasteful piece of dog. Like trading them is one thing, right? Getting a nice little sandwich, then having someone trade it for it, getting more value than what it was potentially worth. Like as far as, if you get a 3-for-1 trade, I'm happy. And not only that, but you get to watch your friend eat it and appreciate it. So it was going to someone who appreciated it, it was getting eaten, taken care of, and just pathetic. One other thing I'd like to get into with the bus rides is I went to school with a gentleman who would, me and him had a really good run on the bus, just having fun for a couple of years, just getting wild. And remember one year he got a little handsy and took it a little too far, and ended up getting in big trouble with the higher ups at school. So yeah, that was funny. Don't have any insane, crazy work stories from work this week, other than two little things. In the middle of my week on Wednesdays, middle of the day, so it's like the midweek point. I always see this one guy who's the man. Hopefully, he'll come on an episode. We've already talked about it. He said he's down. Shop owner, about my age, I think maybe a year or two younger. Super cool dude. Gonna be going golfing together soon, and he always provides me with a little midday lift. Usually a little hit of a bowl or a little joint. This week we got into the dabs, so I took a big blowtorch and fucking heated the fuck out of it. Got me going. We were kind of having a slow sales day up to that point. Took the hit, went to the next stop. It's an older shop, not older, but a gentleman who's already been owning a shop for about 20 years, got all the tools you could imagine. So we mainly go there to, get like a subscription payment on a scanner, or to fix out or warranty out some of his old tools, not necessarily sell. There's some guys that you're obviously trying to sell to everyone, but there's some guys that you're just not going to sell certain things to. I was high as fuck. I didn't care. I went in, tried to promote these two new screwdriver sets we had on promo. Ended up taking his competitor ones on trade, upgraded them to the snap on ones. And from there on, like all the next couple stops, I was just fucking flaming, dog, just on a sales rampage, going crazy, collecting the good money, selling the good shit. And, I told my boss, I'm like, see, I'm not one of these people that's just going to smoke some pot and be some piece of shit and do nothing. Like, I'm ready to get hungry. It's just, to me, it makes it more fun. So he just got done at the big tool show over the past weekend. So we got tons of product coming in hot. So it's on me to be toting, promoting, and selling like crazy right now. And I talked about, I didn't get too much in detail, but I was really fed up with it a couple weeks ago, and I was really close to looking for other avenues of work. But, shout out to my gnome back there. I love you, buddy. And it's a great company to work for. It's a lot of fun. And just like any other job, you have your ups and your downs. And I had a few really rough weeks where I was really frustrated and upset, and everything's good. I've been happy, and honestly, I'm like pretty pumped to go to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and just get another week in the books. But yeah, the dab hitting the immediate sales boost was pretty funny. Uh, did want to mention anyone who's got Netflix out there. If you're not familiar with Tim Dillon, Dillon, he was just on Joe Rogan, so you can either listen to that or you can go watch his special on Netflix or do both. Honestly, over the last 2 3 years, top two or three stand up special I've watched. It was freaking hilarious the whole entire time. You're engaged. I don't usually watch stand ups in one sitting, like hour longs. They're kind of like Bill Burr's. His was an hour and 20. His most recent one, it took me like 3 or 4 times to sit through and watch the whole thing. It was just a little tough. Dylan's was incredible, kept you occupied and in tune the whole time. So yeah, I'm really into that. Um, Real quick, I want to end with one story over the weekend. Not funny by any means, but I have to cover it. But before I get into that, just want to thank everyone who's continued to listen. I'm trying to put out as many guest episodes as I can, try to get people from all different backgrounds and have them be random. And like I said, I'm not necessarily focusing so much on the comedy side of those, but some of the ones that I've got coming out, I know my boy Fred and I did an episode, and that's going to be coming out in a few weeks. That one I thought was particularly funny. But the guest ones are more so me working on my own communication skills and listening skills and question skills and conversational skills and trying to get better at all that. But yeah, I'm doing a couple more today after I get done this one to just have chambered up, ready to go and ready to be released. Just trying to keep it flowing every Friday. You should always have an episode, a guest episode from me. The Mondays, I'm working on trying to get more consistent with the time for the release, but it's a work in progress. I'm doing the best I can as far as recording it early and then getting the editing done and all that. But something I've flirted with and I talked about, I might have already talked about on here is the restaurant corner. I'm pretty sure I did talk about it, but I'm gonna start getting some people from the hospitality industry on here and sharing some stories from that. I think that could be a really fun time. And still have really yet to have any of my like friends on yet because I'm trying to get it to be like an in studio where I can have people sit down with me at a little table and talk in person. I just think that'll be much better. But for now, Zoom's been great. Zoom's been awesome and having fun with it. So, like I said, this isn't funny by any means. This is a disturbing story, but I kind of have to mention it. Just I have to. Cherry Hill, New Jersey's in the news. Everybody, my hometown, born and raised, lived there for 20 some years, and none other than Gary Busey. So I'm just instead of doing the share screen, I'll just read off my iPad. Unfortunately, Gary Busey's facing 4 charges, including 2 counts of criminal sexual contact in the fourth degree by the police department of Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Woo woo. Who's to say that they're not really focusing on serious crime? When I was there, all it was busting up, high school drinking parties and a kid smoking a joint and making their living in the news off that. But now they're getting a sexual monster off the streets. And you might be wondering what Gary Busey was doing in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Well, he was visiting town from August 12th to August 14th over the weekend to attend the Monster Mania convention at the Doubletree Hotel. Shout out to the Doubletree if you've ever stayed there. Only been there one time, but I'm pretty sure you get a big hot chocolate chip cookie when you go into that place. So I don't know if Gary ate them or not. Certainly had other things on his mind, unfortunately, but just let's read the last little snippet. And like I said, I didn't. This isn't a comic current relief, but I mean Gary Busey's definitely an interesting feller. And Cherry Hill is my hometown. You don't get them to see them in the news too often, so I kind of had to. During the time of the convention, Cherry Hill police responded to a report of a sex offense at the Doubletree Hotel. So the cookies, yeah, maybe I should have brought up the cookies. After investigating the incident, detectives charged a 78-year-old actor on 4 offenses. All right, so real quick, like you're 78, bro. What are you doing at a fucking Monster Mania convention at the Doubletree Hotel? Were you in like Gary Busey was probably in some kind of monster movie? It says, okay, Sharknado 4 cast Gary Busey. So Sharknado, Monster, sure. Okay, we can work with that. Uh wasn't he in that movie? The fucking oh my god. Now I gotta look it up. What's that movie called? Gary Busey movies baseball with the kid with the fucking Henry, right? And hurts his arm and it's got that amazing rookie of the year. Let's go. Damn. Yeah, that movie was amazing. You had wow, I can't even remember. I gotta go back and watch that movie. Classic. But yeah, so Gary's in some trouble. Hopefully my police in Cherry Hill are gonna prosecute him to the full extent. Cherry Hill police maintain that the investigation around Busey and the incident remain ongoing. He was booked as a guest for Monster Mania, which is a horror themed fan fueled event that runs out of Cherry Hill semi annually. So, if Cherry Hill's known for anything, baby, other than that phenomenal food and the Tarantini Panzer Rotinis and some legendary families there, we got the Monster Mania. So, for any of my friends still living in New Jersey and listening, maybe we can do some kind of Monster Mania convention, little correspondence dinner one night. We'll look into that. He corresponded with attendees throughout the weekend, photographs. He was there with Ralph Macchio, Tom Skerritt, and Veronica Cartwright. So a real team of all stars. Yeah. You live in Malibu and you're out in Cherry Hill for a Monster Mania convention. Thank you. Who's to say my little hometown's just a little old bleep bleep bleep. We got Gary Busey out there, dog. Um, yeah, that kind of covers actually real quick when I talked about those car rides. When we used to the bus rides and then they evolved into the car rides. I remember this, you know, I'm sorry, young lady. You're probably joke's on me. I'm sitting here fucking telling stories about you for free, and you're probably out there killing it somewhere. But there used to be this sweet little Oriental girl, and she would be walking home every day as the same time we'd be driving home. And I remember me and my cohorts would just, hey, I'll admit it, like in middle school and elementary school and high school, I was a little bit of like a bully or a dickhead or whatever you want to call it. But as the years have grown on, I think I've grown to be a very compassionate, caring human being, and I truly care about a lot of people, and I would do a lot of things to help people. And actions speak louder than words, obviously. So I hope if you're listening and you know me, you can agree with that sentiment. But yeah, telling stories like this, it makes me feel kind of bad and shitty, but that's kind of the fun. That's why I want to do this, is because of these stories. And there would just be this sweet little girl. She'd be walking home every day with, her head down, just mind her own business before AirPods. And, she couldn't granted, she could have had sound cancel, but she didn't. And we would just sit there and just scream out the window and literally just yell just to get a reaction. And I remember the one time she looked up, like we went nuts, but definitely not, worth stopping the podcast and circling back to this just to bring that up. But I do keep like notes of throughout the week of stuff I kind of want to cover. And this week I didn't have a ton of them, but that was one of them on there with the bus rides and stuff. So I figured I'd mention it. Yeah, so I think that'll be it. Let's go Birds. Let's go Phillies. Phillies are in a good series with the Mets right now. We need to pull this out. Thank you all for listening. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for the guest episode. And like I said, once football season comes around, uh, just got a lot of stuff in the works. I'm gonna keep trying to get better and better, trying to add more elements, try to make the studio a little bit more legit, try to get some more things going. I just realized I got the fucking old chair in the background. Shout out to the new chair, baby. Let's go. Um, House of Dragons, the new Game of Thrones thing is starting tonight. Probably gonna wait till the whole thing's over with and watch it because during football season I'm not gonna be watching that on Sunday night over football. So just a lot of different stuff to be in the works, a lot of ideas I got. So just keep supporting me, keep listening. I promise it's gonna get better. Thank you guys all for listening. Enjoy your week.